Here on 11 Alive Plus. The message is clear tonight. Make sure you prepare before it is too late, as we could see winter weather unlike any we've really seen in the last 12 years here. We want to get you over to meteorologist Danielle Moss, tracking those conditions for us this evening with what you need to know as we get closer and closer to this major weather event. Danielle.
Exactly, Jennifer. This is not the only place that's suffering. You can see millions of people are under these winter weather alerts right now. So even if you're traveling and you're trying to get out of here, maybe you're visiting family here in Georgia, there are millions of people that are impacting. This is literally stretching all the way back from Denver all the way up to Canada. So this is a very large system, and the latest information is we are now under an ice storm warning. This is the first time we have had an ice storm warning for years, more than a decade. So this is very important. We want you all to take this very, very seriously, because we are talking about significant ice accumulations that will definitely be impacting your travel. So as we take a look at your weekend weather, there is an impact alert in effect, and it does go until Monday for that freezing rain. You definitely need to plan for travel impacts and power impacts as well. That is very, very important. So let's time it all out for you. What can you expect? When will this arrive? Throughout the overnight hours as we head into your early Saturday morning, 7 a.m. In northwest Georgia, we could be seeing a little bit of that freezing rain really start to begin. And then as we continue to put this forecast track into motion, by 3:30 p.m. in northwest Georgia, still getting a good glazing of that ice. Here in metro Atlanta, by 3 o'clock, you might be wondering, where is the rain? Don't you worry, we're going to get in on the action. It just looks like it's going to be in the evening hours before we start to see any accumulations here in metro Atlanta. But once it starts, it could be confusing for you, because you might be thinking, this is just rainfall. However, it's not. It is definitely going to be freezing rain, because check out these temperatures. 31 degrees here in metro Atlanta, 29 in Duluth. Those temperatures are going to be playing a very large part in what happens. Unfortunately, because we have that 31-degree mark, that is going to up the chances that this will be freezing rain for us here in metro Atlanta, and even going further south near Peachtree City as well. Now, as we head into the overnight hours, that's when things really get bad. Under normal days, our temperatures fall overnight. So as we enter into the upper 20s and that rainfall still going, that freezing rain will continue, unfortunately. And then as we head into your Sunday morning, that freezing rain, a little bit better, more spotty in nature, but it is still going to be continuing as you prepare for that Sunday afternoon. Then I want you to take a look at what happens that main event, that main winter event moves out of here. We still have some rain on the backside of this front that could be bringing us really heavy rain throughout the day on Sunday afternoon. Temperatures warm up just a little bit above freezing. However, the rainfall will be continuing as the temperatures start to drop again. So we'll be talking about really, really cold weather. Now, as you take a look at our ice impacts, not everyone's going to be having major impacts, but we will all be seeing some sort of impact from this ice storm as it rolls through. So what you need to be preparing for are those hazardous roads, power outages, and closures and delays. We've already been seeing a number of closures and delays coming in as well. And we talk about our weekend storm impacts in Helen and Dahlonega. Unfortunately, this is the worst of it. This is our winter storm index that we use. This is kind of like when we talk about severe weather, this is the opposite for winter weather. So when we talk about these weekend storm impacts for Helen and Dahlonega, it's going to be over ½ of an inch. And that's really bad. You don't want to see that. Even as we sink a little bit further into Roswell and to Lawrenceville, you can see that red area still being covered. That is going to be a ½ of an inch to ½ of an inch of ice. And then even a little bit further south, Fayetteville to Peachtree City, unfortunately still seeing less than ½ of an inch, but that is still major, major impact. So all of this goes into a big part in what we are tracking. And because after this front passes through, our temperatures will be freezing again, we went ahead and we extended that weather impact alert until Monday. So this is definitely a system that's going to be bringing us a very big headache. And behind this front, even once it's dry, it's going to feel much colder. In fact, by Tuesday morning, it could feel like the single digits. So we're talking about extremely cold weather even after all this passes. So just make sure, if I were you, I would plan to at least have food and supplies until at least Monday or Tuesday, just in case you end up being in that worst area of it all. Jennifer.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. The roads and emergency crews are working around the clock Getting ready ahead of this incoming storm. Let's check in now with our Danielle Nottingham, who's been speaking with GEMA officials today.
GEMA says what you do now will determine the situation you find yourself in once this storm begins. So they're asking everyone to prepare now. Get what you need for the next 3 days and stay inside over the weekend. In the meantime, GEMA is working closely with all state agencies and utility companies. They're making sure blankets and food are available for people in need, and they're opening warming centers in Georgia state parks. They're also working right now to move resources around the state so equipment and supplies are where they're needed most once this storm hits. Now, they will begin treating the roads after midnight, and they're asking people to stay off the roads this weekend so road crews can do their thing. And the operations center will be in full activation at 7 a.m. At GEMA headquarters, Danielle Nottingham, 11 Alive News.
And it is not just the state. Local emergency management agencies across northeast Georgia are preparing for what they're calling a worst case scenario. We've been telling you all week long about the freezing rain that could blanket the area this weekend. 11 Alive's Chase Howell is outside of the White County Public Safety Building live for us this evening. So Chase, how are they preparing there to help that community? We're anticipating some of the worst impacts.
Yeah, you're correct. And hey, Jennifer, let me tell you this. They have been planning for this since last Sunday. Now, let me show you this. Over here, they have 3 generators just in case they lose power. So if they do lose power, those will be able to kick on. But what happens in a worst case scenario? Well, take a look over at this. This is the mothership here, or if you will, or a command van. So what's going to go on in here if they lose power, if those generators fail? This bad boy is actually going to run those 911 calls through it so they can be up and moving and get to any emergency they have to. Now, around the clock care over here. So this is where 10 people on staff are going to be staying while this ice storm happens, because again, they don't want people on the roads and they don't want their people on the roads to get stuck or get into an accident. So they're going to have them staying in this right here. And this is actually going to be in this area, really ground zero for everything, for everyone to be here, or headquarters rather, for everyone to come here, huddle in. And again, their staff is going to be staying in here so they don't have to have someone on a 24-hour schedule, because who would want that? That's not safe for anybody. But again, here they have things like their trucks are going to be equipped with chains on their wheels. They're going to have 4-wheelers. They're going to do what it takes to get to the emergency. But there's a caveat to all this, and the director of public safety here in White County told me this. He says, listen, Chase, we are prepared, but guess what? The ice is tricky for anybody. We don't have a magic wand to swing in the air and just appear. So if you do have an emergency, make sure that it is an actual emergency, not that your power is off, not that there's a tree in your front yard. That's a non-emergency phone call, or a call to your power company for that matter. So if you're calling 911, just be patient. Again, ice is tricky for anybody, whether you're a first responder or you're a first-time driver. It's all the same, because that ice accumulating is only going to make things slippery. So, Jennifer, they're doing what they can. It's quite incredible to see what it looks like here in front of the White County Public Safety Building. But for now, Chase Howell, live in White County, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, Chase, and we really do want all of our first responders, our government officials who will be working throughout these conditions. We want them to stay as safe as possible as well. Thank you so much for bringing us that update. Now, traveling a little closer to the city, local officials getting ready to respond in Gwinnett County. Now we're going to get you out to our Grace King, who is live in Lawrenceville with how that county is preparing ahead of the storm this weekend. Grace?
Well, Gwinnett County leaders were really excited to not see a lot of rain here today so they could get out and start treating those roads ahead of this weekend. They started at 7 o'clock this morning, laying brine down on those major roads in Gwinnett County, those overpasses, those bridges, some of those spots that got really slick and problematic last storm, to prepare to try and prevent some of that freeze from happening. We watched trucks come in and out of here all day, refilling so they could get done as much as possible. Most of them have now gone home for the night, at least here at the main site, but they are ready to come back tomorrow, on Sunday, on Monday, really until this is over. They have a whole shed full of salt here, as well as trucks with plows, whatever they need to get ready. Lots of plows, lots of trucks stationed strategically across the county. I spoke to the transportation director about some of those efforts to prepare for what's next.
Ice is going to be heavy on the branches and the trees, so we may see trees falling down on our roadways, and we are ready to address those incidents. We have chainsaws ready. We have other departments that have chainsaws ready, and we are also coordinating with our utility companies, with electric providers, so that we can address those incidents as we see them.
And I know we keep saying to stay home, stay off the roads, but when you hear officials talking about, they have chainsaws ready to try and get through to some of those emergencies, even if you try to get out, you might not make it far, especially if there's that ice. I mean, really, it's so important to just stay out of their way and let them work so they're able to get out, to make those roads better so that eventually we all can leave our houses again and hopefully get things back to normal. Live in Lawrenceville, Grace King, 11 Alive News.
Yeah, you also don't want to risk your safety. Grace, thank you so much. We are taking a quick break, and as we do, this is a live look over Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where officials there are preparing for the winter weather with some newly acquired items. What it might mean for those traveling in and out of our city ahead.
I don't know what the format for the whip is, and I guess I don't really care.
I think as long as...
Hey, greetings from the airport.
I think as long as it begins...
Welcome back. Atlanta's airport says it is readier than ever for icy conditions thanks to some new equipment acquired late last year. We want to head out now to Hartsfield-Jackson and 11 Alive's Doug Richards, who has spoken with airport officials there today about what they've done and how it'll matter, what difference it might make for those traveling in and out of Atlanta. Doug.
Yeah, they acquired some equipment just late last year, knowing that there had not been an ice storm warning in more than a decade. And yet they're finding that the equipment that they just bought will have to roll out in the coming days. And they expect it to be very effective in keeping the runways clear, keeping the taxiways clear at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. We saw several large multi-wheeled vehicles equipped with scrapers and brushes that officials say will be able to quickly and effectively clear ice that starts to accumulate during an ice storm.
But this multi-use equipment allows us to do more faster. It's bigger equipment, allows us to have more coverage on our runways and taxiways, and allows our maintenance crew to be more efficient in their operations.
This new equipment operates at a high speed, and my team has had a lot of hours in it.
And they say that they expect the equipment to be able to effectively cover all 5 of Hartsfield-Jackson's runways, as well as the taxiways leading into and out of the terminals. We are live at the airport tonight. Doug Richards, 11 Alive News.
A lot of folks will be happy to hear that, and hopefully it'll help. Doug, thank you so much. Okay, so we want to get you now to meteorologist Danielle Moss, because you are still tracking the models and whatever changes we are expecting to come our way.
Exactly, Jennifer, because models are continuing to update. So it's very important that we make sure that you all know the latest details, and we know for ourselves, because we want to be able to answer any of your questions that you have. And the main thing right now is we're going to continue to watch. There is an ice storm warning. That's really the highest level of warning that you can get with a storm like this. It's the most serious, because that is letting us know that not only do we think, but the National Weather Service and their meteorologists, they also are all on the same page that we could be seeing some really large accumulations of ice. So that's something that we're going to have to continue to watch. Here's a look at our alert that's in effect until Monday. It is for that freezing rain. The freezing rain won't be lasting until Monday. However, the impacts on the roadways and the power, that is definitely possible for it to be lingering throughout Monday. So here's what we're talking about. When we talk about precipitation types, it all depends on those temperatures. I keep saying it. Those temperatures play a really large part in what we can see. If that air is at freezing or below, we could be seeing some snow, maybe even some sleet. Some of us could be seeing some sleet as we prepare for that really Saturday afternoon time frame. Some of us could be picking up a little bit of sleet. But as those temperatures begin to drop and we start to see that air get below freezing, that's when we start talking about that freezing rain, unfortunately. And then it keeps going into just regular rain once those temperatures get above freezing. So we talk about this forecast track. We talk about this system that is coming in. It is definitely a very large one. You saw all of the people that are under winter weather warnings for this evening going into Monday. Really, it's definitely a very large system. Here's a look at the latest forecast track that we're continuing to monitor. It still looks like Northwest Georgia is going to start to get in on the action around 3:30 a.m. on your Saturday. And then as the afternoon and evening go along, by 8 o'clock here in Metro Atlanta, we will start to see that rain change over to freezing rain. You can see those temperatures are right at that freezing line of that 32 degrees. So we have to continue to monitor it. But unfortunately, it does look like Saturday at 9 o'clock, we're definitely going to be dealing with a pretty significant accumulation for some of that ice totals. And this is going to be going on until at least Sunday afternoon. And then we'll have some heavier rain showers coming behind it before another hard freeze for your Monday morning.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. Well, tonight, the University of Georgia is urging students to consider heading home for the weekend as officials continue to closely monitor this winter storm that's expected to bring some hazardous conditions to the Athens-Clarke County area. The university said it anticipates being closed Monday, but plans to provide an official update early Sunday afternoon regarding operations for Monday. Residence halls will remain open for students who choose to stay. However, officials say that students may be consolidated into limited housing areas with emergency heat and meal service if power outages, water line breaks, or other storm-related issues take place. Joining me now is UJ freshman Catherine Johnson. Catherine, thanks so much for speaking with us. You're one of the students that will be staying behind. What's going into your thinking here?
I didn't want to miss class on Monday, so I elected to stay just because classes hadn't been officially canceled yet, and I would have rather been stuck here rather than at home and having to navigate icy roads back to campus.
So what have you done to get ready to prepare?
My roommate and I just made a Target run today. We got bottled water, we got a bunch of snacks, we set our thermostat on heat so we don't freeze to death over the night. And yeah, we've just been preparing in ways just like that.
All right, I'm going to let you go, but I want to ask you real quickly, do you know of any other friends of yours that they're staying behind, and is there that concern about classes Monday?
Yeah, I think most of my friends are staying behind. A lot of them have gone home, especially if they live in Atlanta or just close by. But the university has said that most likely classes will be canceled on Monday, but I haven't had an official email with saying classes are going to be canceled, so I'm just erring on the side of safety and assuming that we'll still have classes, or at least Zoom classes.
All right. Well, Catherine, we want you and your roommate and all of your friends to stay safe up there in the Classic City. Maybe you'll have some time to binge some shows on Netflix or something, but stay safe. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Thank you. And remember, you can stream extended weather coverage right here on 11 Live Plus. Let your friends, your neighbors, your family members know to download it to stream with us for free for continuing coverage. We will have another check of your forecast ahead streaming here on 11 Live Plus. Welcome back. We have been hearing all week long from our weather team, state leaders, local leaders, saying that now is the time to prepare. And we have seen stores packed all day long as people rush out to get those final supplies. Our Cody Alcorn is live tonight in Hall County at the North Hall Ace Hardware off of Cleveland Avenue, just outside of Gainesville. Cody, not too much time left before the store closes. What are you seeing out there?
Not at all, but it's been a steady stream since we walked in here just after 6 o'clock. I'll tell you, on the way up to Gainesville from Atlanta, we started seeing some of those power companies, those trucks coming into town. As we got into Gainesville, a number of trucks were seen around the city. I can tell you, after trying to make some hotel reservations yesterday, we were told a lot of Georgia Power and those contractors are going to be hubbed here in Gainesville, ready for the storm to move in. Then they will get out once all of the roads are open. It's got to be safe for them to get out as well. But other than that, people around Hall County also preparing as well. As you mentioned, we're here in Ace Hardware. We're going to talk to Raymond right now. And Raymond, what have you guys been seeing here and how long have you guys been preparing for this?
We started getting ready last week. A lot of propane, kerosene, gas cans, ice melt, salt, just about everything you need for a major storm. And it's been nonstop for about 3 days now.
And have you guys, as far as what you've been seeing today, you're getting down to the wire. Of course, we have tomorrow until about sunset, but what has it been today?
Basically the same thing. It's just been a carbon copy. Last 3 days, everybody's just trying to get ready for the storm, trying to stay warm, you know.
And comparing this to other years, we kind of talked about this. What have you been seeing as far as years past? Does this compare to anything that you guys have seen?
This has been about the biggest event we've had in quite a while. 2 years ago when the hurricane came through, we had a lot of sales with generators, kerosene, same thing, just not quite to this scale.
And what are the things that you talked to other Ace Hardwares? I know you guys probably communicate, calling around. Are they seeing kind of the same thing? Is everybody getting hit pretty hard?
Pretty much everybody's seeing the same thing, yeah.
And you mentioned it was kind of interesting. You're hoping that this is not as a big event as they are forecasting, because if it is, you guys are running out of everything.
Pretty much, yeah. Resources are starting to run low, real low, and it's not just us. I mean, pretty much everywhere.
When did this start? Have people taken the warning from meteorologists, or has it really picked up in the last couple of days? What have you been seeing?
For the most part, yeah. I think people really started in earnest yesterday. I think there might have been a little bit of wonder about whether it was going to be as bad as we think it was going to be. But I think everybody got on the same page real quick. So.
Hey, well, I appreciate you letting us take over for a little bit. We're going to be here in Hayes Hardware up until the 8 o'clock hour when they actually close. So if you are here in North Hall County, you can get out here until 8. They're going to open up tomorrow as well. But as you've been hearing our meteorologists say, around sunset is when you really need to get off the roadways. Of course, we will be in Hall County riding out this storm. And again, I can tell you, we checked in our hotel. They said tonight's pretty open, but starting tomorrow night, many of the hotels around Gainesville are sold out. A lot of people who are buying these rooms like us are coming in here to work, including those power companies that, as I mentioned, there are contractors. I was looking to, Jennifer, on the way up here, I saw Tampa sending some contractors up here. So all around the southeast, they are sending crews here. And as I mentioned, they're going to hunker down until the roads are clear enough to actually get out and work. So if you do lose power, unfortunately, it could be quite a while before you get the lights back on.
Yeah, that is the fear out there, Cody. I know you're in the store. I'm not sure if the gentleman's still there with you. What are you seeing people come away with in these final hours and the final moments as we lead up to this weather event tomorrow? Is there anything that folks are getting away with, or anything that folks maybe need to be considering to purchase?
Yeah, I'll tell you, when we got here, as soon as we got here, I kept seeing people go out to the propane, trying to get those propanes refilled. And Raymond's still here with me, and we kind of talked about that. Is it really propane what people are coming back in for to get refilled?
For the most part, yeah. We've been steady on, like I said, for 3 days. There's been somebody out there pretty much every hour of every day pumping propane. And shout out to Blossman, our company. They've been on top of it. We haven't run dry yet.
I was going to ask you, how does that process work? Some people might not use propane. How does that work? Do they come in and fill this up, or how many times have you guys had to refill this week?
Usually we can refill tanks. We do have an exchange as well, but people generally like to refill the tanks that they have. And like I said, it's just been one right after another, you know.
And also, you kind of mentioned some of the things they were taking away. What are some of the key things people are trying to come here last minute? I know some people are looking for piping, don't have it. I mean, is that kind of the thing people are running into?
Pipe insulation, stuff for traction, sand, oil dry, things like that. Just trying to be sure that things aren't so slick that if you can get outside, you don't wind up hurting yourself. All
right, we'll check back in with you guys in a little bit. I appreciate it, Raymond. Thank you so much. And again, that is the key. If you don't have to be out, you really should not, Jennifer. Unlike snow events where people think they can get out and drive in this, with ice, there's really no driving in ice once that starts to get slick out there. So you really should heed the warning. Sunset tomorrow. Everybody is encouraged to stay off the roads.
All right, Cody, thank you so much for bringing us that update, and maybe a reminder for a few people of some items they may want to go out and get before the storm comes in. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 11 Alive News, streaming here on 11 Alive Plus. We are in continuing coverage of this upcoming winter storm. We want to get you now to our meteorologist, Danielle Moss, tracking the very latest as we anticipate starting to see some of those conditions roll in tomorrow.
Exactly, Jennifer. And I have to tell people that we are not the only ones dealing with this. There are millions of people that are under winter storm warnings right now. It literally stretches from Canada all the way back into New Mexico, and we are under an ice storm warning. This is the first time we have ever been under an ice storm warning in more than a decade. This is huge. This means that we are expecting a large accumulation of ice in Metro Atlanta and all of North Georgia. It literally goes from Henry County all the way back up to North Georgia. We have an impact alert in effect. We have extended it actually until Monday. It was for Saturday and Sunday, but we extended it into Monday because whatever's on the ground Sunday night will be frozen come Monday morning. So go ahead and plan for some travel and some power impacts as well. This weather impacts alert is definitely a very serious situation. We want you to take it seriously, but let's time it all out for you. What can you expect? When will it arrive? We'll definitely see some increase in cloud cover as we prepare for Saturday morning. Now, it's going to be very interesting. In northwest Georgia, that's when all of the winter precipitation will begin. And then as we carry on to around 3:30 Saturday afternoon, everything's still going to be north of here. You're going to be thinking, where is this freezing rain that everyone has been talking about? But we will be getting in on the action. It will be later on, really into the early evening hours, around 5 or 6, before we really start to see that freezing rain and that rain turning over into freezing rain. It could start off as regular rain because those temperatures will be slightly above that freezing mark. But when we start to see them dip into the low 30s, so 31, maybe even 29, that's when we have that chance to see that freezing rain, unfortunately. And it does look like it will continue overnight Saturday and really pick up Saturday night around 11:30 p.m. You definitely do not want to be out and about. If you've been watching, Cody had great advice. He said by sunset Saturday, you want to be where you're going to go. That's great advice. You also want to make sure that you're around people that you're going to like because you're going to be here for quite some time. Sunday morning at 4 a.m., still seeing some lingering freezing rain falling. And then as we head into the afternoon hours or right before the afternoon hours, we start to see that freezing rain switch back over into regular rain showers. And while you think, okay, that'll wash it all away, that's not the way that ice really works, especially once it encapsulates around those power cords and around the trees as well. Then by Sunday evening, we start to see those temperatures dropping once again, and then maybe another hard freeze for your Monday morning. When we talk about those ice impacts, not everyone is going to be seeing major impacts. Some of us moderate and some of us minor, but it doesn't matter where you are. You're definitely going to be seeing some very hazardous roads conditions, some power outages as well, and some closures and delays. You've already been seeing some of those closures and delays, so just make sure you are prepared for that. When we talk about our winter storm severity index, this is something the National Weather Service has come up with. We use it almost like how we use our severe weather. Like when we talk about you're going to be in a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that winter storm severity index is the same thing, but for winter weather. And when we start to see those purples right there in Helen, when we start to see those reds, that's the worst of it. And unfortunately, it does look like if you are in northeast Georgia, from Helen to Dahlonega, you can expect over half of an inch of freezing rain and ice accumulation. That's going to make very dangerous travel conditions and widespread outages. And that red, the severity of it, sinks all the way into Lawrenceville as well. Then we start to get into the orange, into Roswell. And unfortunately, that lets us know that that is that second tier for that winter storm severity index. And then as we take a look from Fayetteville to Peachtree City, it gets a little bit better, but we're still talking about less than 1/4 of an inch. So those roads could still be very, very slippery. So you want to make sure that you allow extra time. If you do have to go anywhere, you want to make sure that you try to stay in the house until at least Monday afternoon, and then maybe you can get out and really enjoy yourself. But even when we talk about your Tuesday morning is going to be very cold. In fact, we're talking about single-digit wind chills for your Tuesday morning. So we're going to get some reinforcing cold to come in. Those temperatures are going to feel very, very cold. So Monday at 12:30 p.m., it'll feel like 13 degrees here in Metro Atlanta. But Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., it could feel like 3 degrees in Metro Atlanta. And in North Georgia, it could feel like -3. So definitely talking about some really cold weather. But here's good news for you. It looks like we could be staying mostly dry as we head all the way into next weekend, which is great. But our temperatures will be a little bit cold still. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for this because it'll be a while before we get back up above freezing. Here's like a 7-day forecast where you have that weather impacts alert for Saturday through Monday and a very cold start to your Tuesday morning.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much for that extensive breakdown of what we can expect here. Meanwhile, road and emergency crews are working around the clock right now to get ready ahead of this storm. Let's hear from Danielle Nottingham, who has been speaking with GEMA officials today.
GEMA says what you do now will determine the situation you find yourself in once this storm begins. So they're asking everyone to prepare now. Get what you need for the next 3 days and stay inside over the weekend. In the meantime, GEMA is working closely with all state agencies and utility companies. They're making sure blankets and food are available for people in need, and they're opening warming centers in Georgia state parks. They're also working right now to move resources around the state so equipment and supplies are where they're needed most once this storm hits. Now, they will begin treating the roads after midnight, and they're asking people to stay off the roads this weekend so road crews can do their thing. And the operations center will be in full activation at 7 a.m. At GEMA headquarters, Danielle Nottingham, 11 Alive News.
And tonight, as Georgia is bracing for an icy storm, we have brought you live interviews all day long from GDOT representatives to bring you some tips on how you can stay safe. Earlier today, Joseph Schoolman with GDOT's Northwest region says they are also preparing for the aftermath as well.
Even after that ice is gone or that storm has passed, there's work after that, clearing trees, making sure those roads and those areas where the temperature is still low might have some ice. We're always out there. We're always making sure. And so part of that is making sure that the public gives our crews on the roads room to work. So we want to make sure that people stay home during these events, not just for their safety, but for the safety of our crews so that we can work efficiently while we're out there.
GDOT crews will start widening interstates and state roads at midnight. Crews will adjust operations as the storm evolves.
I'm Grace King at the Gwinnett County Department of Transportation headquarters, where they've been preparing for this winter weather all day long. If you take a look behind me, you can see the different brine machines as they prepare that brine. Trucks have been coming in and out all day, refilling so they can pre-treat their roads. They started at 7 o'clock this morning, dumping that brine on the roads, covering them in hopes of preventing things from sticking tomorrow when the weather starts to get bad. They're focusing on major roads, overpasses, bridges, anything that tends to freeze first or is a major thoroughfare for the county. They're also preparing their fleet of salt trucks and plows for when that weather comes and when it sticks to the ground. You can see back here they have salt sheds, they have trucks all inside so it's nice and dry for that weather so that they can get out as soon as this is over. Now, the Gwinnett County Transportation Director, he told me they have 23 plows ready to go, so they hope they're able to clear up those roads as soon as they can. But his message to everyone in Gwinnett County is to just stay home if you're able to. That gives them space to work, that gives first responders space to work, and it'll help prevent any possible emergencies. In Gwinnett County, Grace King, 11 Alive News.
Welcome back to the news here on 11 Alive Plus. Forecasters say ice, snow, and dangerously cold temperatures will sweep over the nation tonight and throughout this weekend. More than 170 million people are already under some type of winter weather warning through Sunday. NBC's Candace Sweat reports.
More than half the country is stocking up.
There are a lot of people in there. It's worse than Thanksgiving.
Bundling up.
I got about 5 layers of clothes on.
And preparing to bunker down.
We're just asking residents, please stay off the roads come Sunday.
A massive storm stretching from the southwest to the northeast, expected to deliver a blast of severe winter weather. More than 170 million people in the storm's path.
I am making a disaster declaration covering 134 counties across the state of Texas.
And Texas is one of many states to preemptively declare a disaster. State and local officials nationwide worried about power outages.
There are certain things that we always keep up. Number one, we're looking at grid conditions from ERCOT.
Another concern, roads. Crews are preparing salt trucks when possible and working to get brine on the pavement.
We are putting down triple the normal brine on the roadways because we're not going to have any road salt. So hopefully that'll buffer the problem.
Anxious shoppers crowding into stores for last-minute essentials.
I got batteries, I got lights, I got lanterns.
Officials asking everyone to be prepared and patient.
We expect the impacts to last potentially through Monday afternoon or evening.
Americans looking ahead to a long and potentially dangerous weekend. Candace Sweat, NBC News, Oklahoma City.
And we are expecting some of the worst conditions in northeast Georgia. We're going to get you now to 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido, who is live outside of the White County Public Safety Building there. So, Angelina, what are you learning about the preparations they're making there in that community?
Well, the preparations really started earlier this week as they brought together all of the county officials that are in White County, along with the emergency manager, to try and make sure that everybody is on the same page, that the roads are pre-treated when they need to be pre-treated, and that people are heeding the warning of staying home. You're going to hear us say that multiple times before we start to see the impacts here in White County and in the other areas of Metro Atlanta. But it's really a message that they want people to pay attention to. Here at the Public Safety Building, they are also preparing for the fact that we could see some power outages that will last a decent amount of time. Now, when we take a look here, you'll see that they have 3 different generators that they have brought out. One is already stationary, kind of connected to the Public Safety Building. The other 2, they can move around wherever it is that they're going to need these generators in order for them to be able to respond to the calls that they will be getting from people once we start to see these impacts. Now, we talked about power outages. That means that the 911 calls could also be affected. The way that they're making their way around that is that they have a mobile command center here that will funnel the 911 calls straight into the emergency operator, so then that way they won't miss any. They also plan on housing their staff here at the Public Safety Building so that those staff members can stay safe and stay off of the roads. There are 2 different little centers or RVs that they can stay in. Each one of them should be able to hold at least 10 of their staff members in bunk beds and different stuff like that. So we spoke to the emergency director a little bit earlier today about how they have been preparing throughout the week and what they're expecting as well.
Our 911 teams are very good at what they do, but they can become overwhelmed. And if 911 is being used to report things like power outages or a tree blocking a roadway, things like that during the height of an emergency, it's not really necessary. It takes away from the ability to receive those actual emergency calls.
That's why they want people to be very cautious when they choose to call 911 during scenarios like this, because they want to make sure that those 911 calls that they are getting really are people that need help immediately. Now, I spoke to someone from the Public Safety Office not too long ago. There are about 36,000 residents here in White County. They are hoping that all of those people have done what they need to do to prepare for this storm, whether that's getting their homes ready, getting all the food that they're going to need in their homes, because once we see those power outages, and the ice as well that we're expected to see up here in North Georgia, those people could be stuck in their homes for quite a few days. So that's another warning that they continue to put out to people. Tomorrow, they are going to have another safety briefing at 2 p.m. We will be here to get the latest information about what the impacts look like here in White County. Jennifer?
Angelina, we know you had to travel up there. Does it look like people are already starting to shut things down and hunker down already, or do you think you were seeing people still kind of traveling about trying to get those last-minute items?
People are definitely traveling around trying to get those last little items. You could tell as the sun continues to fall here that the road started to thin out a little bit. I will tell you that a lot of the roads here have already been treated. Here in the parking lot that we're standing, they actually treated it with salt and with gravel as well. They're going to do a second round of that here just at the Public Safety Building and the other main buildings here in White County as well. But in the different cities, they're going to treat those main roads, the bridges as well that we know freeze over first before any of the other roads as well. The issue is going to be in the rural areas where they're not going to be able to possibly get to people. They have chains around their cars, but once that all ice is over, there's really not much that a chain can do to try to give traction, especially when you're going uphill. It's one of the issues that they could run into once these impacts start.
All right, Angelina, that's why it's so important to heed that warning about using 911 judiciously as those crews work to respond. Thank you so much. All right, we want to send you over now to our meteorologist, Danielle Moss, for an update on what we're seeing on the tracks and the models as we get closer and closer to this winter weather event, Danielle.
Jennifer, it's information overload. We've been tracking this for so long, but it is on its way. So it's very important that we let you know exactly what we're watching. There's this ice storm warning, first time in decade that we have been seeing this ice storm warning, and it stretches from North Georgia all the way down to Henry County. So make sure that you are prepared. No matter where you are in the state of Georgia, you could be seeing at least minor impacts from this system. Our weather impact alert goes from Saturday until Monday. We extended it until Monday because whatever falls has a great potential to see refreezing overnight for your Sunday night into your Monday. Let's time it all out for you once again. What can you expect? This is really what people are wondering. When is it going to come? When is it arriving? When's the worst of it so that they can prepare and definitely get those preparations in order? Now, Saturday at 7 a.m., we started to see some of that wintry mix happening in northwest Georgia, really in Dalton and in Whitfield County. Then as we continue to put that forecast track into motion, we could be seeing some isolated showers with maybe some freezing rain mixed in there around 3:30 p.m. But the heaviest of the rain and really the real beginning of this system that will be making major impacts will start around 8 p.m. on Saturday. Here in Metro Atlanta, that's really where you need to be in your house. I say be there around 4 or 5, 6 at the latest for your Saturday, because once we get into that 8 p.m. hour, we start to see those impacts really becoming widespread. And then Saturday, late night Saturday, around 9, 10 o'clock, we are really almost completely covered in that freezing rain. When those temperatures continue to fall, that freezing rain really will start to stick. And unfortunately, that's when we're going to see those really big impacts. Then on Sunday morning at 4 a.m., it's still going to be continuing. This is why we're seeing churches cancel. We're seeing a lot of people cancel their plans all the way through Monday, because even after we have this heavy rainfall that comes through really Sunday afternoon, it's not going to wash it away, but it definitely will continue to add really insult to injury, because our temperatures will fall once again for your Monday morning, and then we're going to really start to see some more freezing. Now, when we talk about major, moderate, and minor impacts, unfortunately, northeast Georgia is probably going to be getting the worst of it all. So make sure you are prepared from anywhere from a half of an inch all the way up to maybe even an inch. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. Weather impact alert for your Saturday, Sunday, and your Monday as well. It will be at least a few days before we start to get out of that freezing range and not have brutally cold temperatures for our overnight lows.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. And right now we are hearing from President Donald Trump ahead of this incoming winter storm. He posted online here saying, "I've been briefed on the record cold wave and historic winter storm that will be hitting much of the United States this weekend." The Trump administration is coordinating with state and local officials. FEMA is fully prepared to respond. Stay safe and stay warm. And he signed it, President DJT. We'll, of course, continue to track what we're hearing from state and local leaders, as well as keep you updated with the very latest from our own team of meteorologists just ahead, streaming here on 11 Alive Plus. Welcome back. As the temperatures dip and stay low, frozen pipes can quickly turn into some very costly damage. Our Liza Lucas spoke with experts about the simple steps that you can take now to protect your home and the first call to make if the unfortunate happens and your pipes burst.
Preparation is really important. You want to make sure your home is ready for winter weather. But what happens if a pipe freezes or bursts? You want to be prepared for that scenario too. Because we've seen it happen before. This video from 2022 shows how a deep freeze quickly turned into a nightmare for local residents. Yet experts say a little preparation can go a long way. That includes advice from Steve Morgan with ServiceMaster, who points to a few simple steps.
Make sure that you have covered your exterior faucets on the exterior of the house, your spigots. I would make sure that the house has adequate heat throughout the house, no closed up rooms. You want heat circulating. You actually want the house to stay above 65 degrees if possible in there to make sure that water continues to flow. I would also take the precaution to drip your faucets.
But even with those precautions, pipes can still freeze and sometimes burst. If that happens, the first step is to shut off your water at the main valve, turn off electricity in the affected areas, and when it comes to your next call
that you want to make is to your insurance agent, because they may have a set of preferred vendors that they could recommend to you, people that they have vetted and that they're accustomed to sending out to handle your situations and giving you the best peace of mind.
And our weather team has been speaking with state leaders. Our regular team of reporters have been speaking with them as well. And everyone keeps saying that today, now is the time to prepare because they don't want folks out there on the roads. That's because we have seen that it can be very unsafe. It can be a very bad issue, lead to some tragic outcomes. So we want to get out to 11 Live's Doug Turnbull with some simple tips for anyone who absolutely has to be out there on the roads.
There you go. Keep her moving. There's been a joke, or seven, about southern drivers in winter weather. With days of lead time and that in mind, the best advice Department of Public Safety captain and trained professional driver Crystal Zion can give is to stay off of the roads this weekend and allow more room for first responders and road crews to safely move. However,
if you do have to travel, then we ask you, obviously with snow and ice, slow down. That's really important because those roads are slippery. You have to give yourself more time to react. If traffic is stopped in front of you and the roads are slippery, it's going to take you longer to get stopped.
And drivers should keep their eyes on the horizon, she said, so they can prepare for stopped traffic well ahead of time, especially on bridges and overpasses, which could freeze over first. Essential workers that have to hit the roads need to know that bigger roads get treated first, so neighborhoods will be the trickiest to navigate. And if a driver does start to spin, Zion says not to panic.
Basically what you need to do is get off the brake, get off the gas, let the vehicle settle. There's nothing you're going to be able to do until the vehicle settles. You're not going to be able to put any steering input into it while it's skidding on ice or sliding on ice. So what we need you to do is counter steer, basically steer into the skid, steer back into it, and then if it goes the opposite way, do the same thing again.
And she urges people to stay at slow speeds when that happens. She also said that for tractor trailers and other commercial vehicles that have to deliver essential freight, all weigh stations will be open around Georgia and that the State Patrol will be out in full force to help keep drivers safe. Doug Turnbull, 11 Alive News.
Zion also said people should make sure they have extra food, batteries, a blanket, and a full tank of gas in their vehicles, and that they should check traffic conditions before they head out, which we will be providing for you in real time all weekend here, streaming on 11 Alive Plus. We'll be right back. Welcome back to 11 Alive Plus. We want to get you over to our meteorologist, Danielle Moss. And Danielle, I have to ask you because it feels like everybody is posting a lot of stuff. Everyone's become their own meteorologist on social media, and some people may have seen some misinformation because we're not talking about a snow event here. We've been talking about ice. So I want you to kind of talk a little bit about that and what are we expecting when we talk about freezing rain here?
Well, Jennifer, temperatures, that is the big thing that plays a large part in what we see fall from the sky. And you're right, a lot of people are their own couch meteorologists. So we want to make sure that you know exactly what you're up against in the next few hours. So our frozen precipitation is only coming in from above the atmosphere, right? But your air at freezing or below freezing, that is when we have snow. We're not talking about snow. This is not a snow event. It's also not a sleet event. Some people could see sleet because this red, which is air above freezing, could sneak in just a little bit. And our temperatures will be right there on that cusp of freezing, which is 32 degrees, right? Then we talk about that freezing rain. That's when we see those ice accumulations, and you can see more freezing air has to work in with that precipitation, and that's how we get that freezing rain. And then if it's completely warm, we have rain, just regular rain. So it all depends on those temperatures, but we are under this ice storm warning because we are expecting ice. So I want you all to be very clear on exactly what's happening. You're not going to be waking up building snowmen. It's not going to be one of those events, but we are definitely going to be frozen over. It's going to have some type of ice accumulations on the trees as well as on those power lines. So make sure that you are prepared for that. On my way in this evening, I saw a number of trucks going through, getting ready to salt the roads and preparing. You even saw the trucks with the scoops on the front. They were getting ready to clear some of those roadways as well. However, ice is different from snow. So that's definitely going to cause some really big impacts on those roadways. So you want to make sure that you are prepared for that. In Northwest Georgia at 3 a.m., that's when you can start to see some of that wintry mix really working in. And then Saturday at 8 p.m., that's when we will really see that freezing rain start to take effect. Here's what I've been saying. Around 6 p.m., you want to make sure that you are at your location that you're going to be parked at for the rest of the weekend, because as we continue to put our forecast track into motion, around 9 p.m., you can see that's almost widespread freezing rain, and those temperatures will continue to fall overnight. So that's definitely going to be putting us in a situation where we're going to continue to see that wintry mix. And really, when we say wintry mix, we're talking about sleet or freezing rain. We're not looking at a snow event at all. Even after that freezing rain moves out of here, we still have the rest of that front to push through, and that's going to consist of mostly rain. Then our temperature is going to be falling overnight Sunday and into your Monday, and that, unfortunately, if you don't get any ice accumulations, could cause a really big disaster with black ice. So we do know that Northeast Georgia definitely going to be seeing some major impacts from this ice storm. And then along Metro Atlanta and really along the I-20 corridor, moderate impacts. Then we start to talk about minor impacts south of Metro Atlanta. So when we say major impacts for Northeast Georgia, we're talking about ice totals over 1/2 inch. For Metro Atlanta, we're expecting ice totals from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Either way, you're looking at very difficult travel as well. And for your south to southwest areas, south of Metro Atlanta, we are looking at very slick travel conditions, so make sure that you are prepared for that. Here is a look at that 7-day forecast. That weather impacts alert is in effect for Saturday, Sunday, and Monday as well. We'll get above freezing, but unfortunately, we're gonna have some reinforcing cold air, Jennifer, that on Tuesday morning, it could feel like the single digits here in Metro Atlanta. So this cold tundra is gonna be continuing at least until midweek.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a little Q&A here now, and you kind of alluded to one of the questions that one of our viewers sent in to us, because a lot of folks are wondering, how long is it going to be before things get back to normal? For example, you mentioned Tuesday there. Is there going to be ice? Is it going to be gone? And I imagine that's really dependent on where you live.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all about where you live, and it's about like what you see, right? So Northeast Georgia, those impacts could have those people there for a while. However, here in Metro Atlanta, we could start to see things getting better by like Monday afternoon. However, those cold temperatures, again, I won't be surprised if we see delays for Tuesday morning because it's going to be so cold in those early early hours of the morning.
And then also it depends on where you live and what kind of things are surrounding where you live. We always talk about the bridges icing over more quickly. And if you got a lot of trees and no direct sunlight, that's going to impact what you see out there as well.
Exactly. If you live in an area that has a lot of bridges and overpasses, things that you have to travel over the river and through the woods to get to a major highway, you're definitely going to see some longer impacts, because that's another thing. A lot of our counties, they don't have all of the tools that they need to really clear those roads. So major roadways, yes, major interstates, yes, but some of those surface streets could be iced over for a while.
Especially the rural communities. We're talking about Northeast Georgia. There are going to be some places there that they just don't have that stuff readily available on those roadways.
Exactly. And then when you talk about a storm this large, it's hard to call in resources because it's like, hey, I got to help my people here. So, there's a lot that goes into this.
Okay, I also want to ask you about this. When we hear about a winter storm, when we talk about ice and even snow, sometimes people ask about brine and salt and sand and kitty litter and things of that nature. Can you talk about how helpful those things might be as people are looking toward the end of this, when it's time to get ready to head out to work, or maybe you just go and stir crazy and want to get out the house and just sit around, or maybe head to a neighbor's house? Like, how safe are those things, and do they actually work for you?
They do. So, but you need to make sure that you're reading the back of those things, right? Because sometimes you'll buy, like Cody was talking to the gentleman there in Gainesville. When you talk about snow melts, you need to make sure that it also covers ice, because there's a different chemical and a different makeup that goes into snow melt versus ice melt. And when we're not talking about snow at all. So kitty litter, it helps like under your tires, and that's going to be great if your car is parked there for a while. So you can put that around your tires to kind of help give it a little bit of a push start.
Yeah, some traction.
Exactly, some traction there. But it's one of those situations, and that's why, Snowmageddon was so large, because everything iced over and no one could move their cars for forever. And so that's what we're kind of looking at now, is that ice component. It's hard to really get that to, even when they salt the roads and brine them, it's hard to get it to melt because it's so frozen. Now, when it does melt, it'll get in there, but then we could be seeing some more potholes later on in the spring because of the chemicals there.
We can't get away from the potholes.
No, we can't.
All right. If you have a question, if you're wondering about something ahead of this winter storm that you'd like for us to have our team of experts, our meteorologists, answer for you, you can text us your questions to the number right there at the bottom of your screen. It's 404-885-7600, and we'll see if we can get to your question. Our meteorologists are extremely busy right now, as you can imagine, but text us your questions. We'll work to get you an answer. We're going to take a break and be right back after this. Our coverage of the upcoming winter storm continues right here, streaming on 11 Alive Plus. We want to take you now to 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido, live outside of the White County Public Safety Building there, where those preparations have been underway for quite some time now, as that community in particular is expecting to be hit hard here. Angelina.
Yeah, a significant amount of ice, Jennifer, is what we're expecting to see once these impacts start tomorrow. And I will tell you that a lot of people here that have lived here for some years maybe say that they're not really concerned about what's going to happen here. But there are another handful of people that say that they have been preparing, that they're heeding the warnings, and that they're trying to make sure that they and their families and even their neighbors are prepared here. Now, before the break, I actually heard you guys talking about getting resources to an area like this. I spoke to someone with the public safety office here, and they were telling me that they actually requested some resources from GEMA today, and those requests were actually filled. So they asked for a generator, a backup generator that would be used for one of their nursing homes here. They also asked for some meals that would be delivered here to their staff that's going to be stationed here throughout the duration of this storm and even afterwards once we see those impacts and what it really looks like. So then that way that will help supplement and help them continue to do their job. There are a few other things that they also asked for that GEMA was able to provide for them. But when we talk about getting resources here, after these impacts happen, it's going to be pretty difficult because so many of these areas here in White County are rural, and it's going to be extremely hard to get to people once these roads ice over. Here's what the public safety director had to say earlier today.
I know that winter weather can be unsettling, especially here in Georgia, where we don't often face these conditions. But I want you to know your county government is prepared. This is not new for us. We know how to step up in situations like this. We know how to mobilize, and we are here for you.
What bite is this? So when we talk about the public safety director that's here in White County as well, he also said that those people that live in rural areas are really the people that have to be preparing right now because of the fact that it will be hard for 911 services to get to them, and the safety crews are here to get to them as well. Once these roads ice over, the people that work here in this county, the emergency officials, they are also not going to put themselves out in danger. There's a reason why they're telling people to stay off of the roads. They themselves will do the same thing until it's safe for them to do so. And another thing that they wanted to mention, too, is be very careful when you call 911. They want to make sure that people are calling for significant emergencies, not just something that may be a run-of-the-mill issue or maybe just a question, because those 911 lines could get clogged as well.
Right. Angelina, thank you so much. And we do apologize. That sound you heard was leaders in Gwinnett County from our crew out there earlier today, because we do have our reporters fanned out across Metro Atlanta tracking these conditions as the storm comes in our way. Angelina, thank you so much. And as we speak about our weather team, we know that state leaders, state and local leaders have been saying that now is the time to go ahead and get ready. We have seen stores packed all day long, people heading out to stores all week long. Our Cody Alcorn in Hall County at the North Hall Ace Hardware off of Cleveland Avenue outside of Gainesville. So Cody, you've been seeing folks come in trying to get those last minute items. I know that store is about to close in just a little bit. So what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, Jennifer, that's the reason we came out here to North Hall County, because this is one of the only hardware stores still open at this hour. Many closed at 5 and 6. So they're closing here at 8 o'clock, but we'll be back open tomorrow. But I do want to go over here to the manager, Raymond. He's been so nice to let us in tonight. And we kind of talked about this in the last hour, but what have you been seeing? I mean, it's been a steady increase since we got here at 6. What are people really coming in this last minutes?
Basically what you would expect, kerosene, propane, gas cans, ice melt, all the things you need for a storm like this.
And something we didn't mention earlier, it's sitting here right by us, but a smoke and carbon monoxide alarm, because I was kind of doing some research, and, that's one of the things we see a lot of times with these winter storms. Some of those calls increase. What do you guys really tell people when they come in here? I think you mentioned about the propane heaters.
Better safe than sorry. I know a lot of the propane indoor heaters have, protections built into them and stuff, but you can never be too sure. We always recommend, if people buy those, to pick up a CO2 sensor, something like that, just to be on the safe side.
And those things, they're not too expensive either, right?
No, they run about $20.
Because obviously it is a silent killer. We talk about it all the time. As far as tomorrow, what are you guys expecting? I heard you guys saying, should we restock? But there's not a whole lot you guys can even put back on the shelves.
Not a whole lot left, yeah. we're just going to be here basically to pump propane and help people in any way we can. That's basically our mission, is to try and help the community as best we can, especially in situations like this.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks so much again for letting us come in today. Appreciate it. And again, so that is one thing to keep in mind. If you are going to have some of those heaters, obviously people are going to try to get heat as they can, but if you can pick one up tomorrow before, as we mentioned, to get off the roads at sunset, carbon monoxide detector would be a very smart thing to have. As we mentioned, Jennifer, it's a silent killer. A lot of times during these winter storms, we see those calls, and unfortunately, sometimes things can turn deadly. So again, that is something to keep in mind. Safety, if you are trying to stay warm, if you lose power, because obviously we do expect many people across North Georgia to lose power once that ice starts to get on those power lines and trees start to take down those power poles.
Very good points tonight, Cody. Also reminding folks not to try to use that car inside of a garage to warm up. We also know there's advice against using your oven to heat up because those can bring about dangers as well. So good reminders tonight out of Gainesville in Hall County. Cody, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break and have more coverage here in just a moment, streaming on 11 Live Plus.
Welcome back. I'm meteorologist Danielle Moss with an update for you. Let's take a look at our winter weather alerts. They stretch from Canada all the way back to New Mexico, and it's hard to believe. Either someone is under a winter storm warning, a winter weather advisory, a winter storm watch, and then there's us. We are under a ice storm warning. No confusion there. If you thought we were getting snow, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. We are not. We're getting ice, and unfortunately, some of us are getting a lot of ice. Even though it's small, sounds like small amounts, it is really a large accumulations of it, because any little bit of ice can do damage. We're talking about power lines, and we're talking about our roadways. So make sure that you are prepared. This weather impact alert goes from Saturday through Monday. It has been extended, and it's for that freezing rain. You need to plan for travel impacts as well as power outages. Do that now. You have until around, I'd say 4 o'clock tomorrow evening, and then you should be where you're going to be staying for the next few days. Let's talk about that forecast track. What can you expect? We'll have some increase in cloud cover as we prepare for Saturday morning. And then around 7 a.m., we start to see some of that wintry mix, that wintry precipitation really gathering in northwest Georgia. And then as we continue to put this forecast track into motion, we have some isolated showers Saturday afternoon, but unfortunately, it does look like that freezing rain will already be taking effect to the north of here and throughout the state of Tennessee as well. Now, when you wake up tomorrow afternoon, if you are a late riser, you might be wondering, well, where is the freezing rain? Well, it looks like here in Metro Atlanta, we could be seeing that freezing rain around 6, 7, or 8 o'clock. So make sure that you are prepared prepared for that. You do not want to be driving once it starts, because unfortunately, once it sinks down into metro Atlanta, it does start to get a little bit more widespread across our coverage area into the overnight hours for your Saturday. And that's when we're really going to see those temperatures falling below freezing. And that's when we're expecting the biggest impacts to be. And it does look like Northeast Georgia will be getting the worst of it, unfortunately, but we look like pretty much all of us are going to be collecting some amount of ice within the next few days. So just make sure that you are aware of that. Even behind the front, once the worst of that freezing rain moves out of here, we have more rain that will be coming in for your Sunday afternoon, and then another shot of colder air coming in for your Monday morning and really lingering until around Tuesday. We talk about those ice impacts. It does look like there's major impacts expected for Northeast Georgia, unfortunately, and it does sink in all the way to Lawrenceville. So make sure you are prepared for that here in Metro Atlanta. We are expecting moderate impacts and minor impacts south of here. We talk about those impacts. What are you talking about specifically? Hazardous roadways, power outages, and we're definitely going to be seeing some closures and some delays. We talk about a winter storm severity impact. This is what we're looking at, and it does look like from Helen and into Dahlonega, you can see those purple. That lets us know that it's going to be really bad in those areas. So make sure that you are prepared, whether that's getting extra food, making sure you have flashlights, and making sure your car is ready as well. 7-day forecast for you. It is going to be cold, and we are expecting some ice accumulations. That weather impact alert goes from Saturday until Monday. Temperatures will be very cold, and when you wake up Tuesday, our low could be near 15 degrees, but it could feel like 3. So make sure you are prepared for that. And then our temperatures will be warming back up as we head into the rest of the week.
All right, Danielle, thank you so much. Tonight, some school districts are already announcing closures and remote learning days for Monday. DeKalb County School District schools, centers, and offices will be closed. A decision, though, for Tuesday will be made by 5 o'clock on Monday. And Fulton County Schools is moving to remote learning on Monday. District leaders say they are concerned about the icy roads that could last into the start of next week, and all weekend activities after Saturday afternoon and all on Sunday have been canceled. Well, in Cobb County, the Cobb County School District says that they are monitoring conditions as well, but are prepared behind the scenes. The district says they are coordinating with local law enforcement, state and county officials, and even neighboring school districts as they make critical decisions about whether to delay or cancel school. 11 Live is told the county's size also plays a role here as they evaluate whether buses are safe to travel.
There may be several roads that look great and easy to travel, dry conditions. However, a lot of our roads are, covered by trees, and snow ice doesn't melt easily. So there's many roads that may be unpassable and areas outside of where you live specifically. So we have to be considerate of all families.
And above all, the district emphasizes the safety of students and staff is the ultimate priority.
I'm Doug Richards at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. It turns out that folks here at the airport just late in 2025 made a decision to acquire new ice clearing equipment that will be used in the coming days during the ice storm. The multi-wheeled vehicles that we saw earlier today mimic equipment that is used at airports in colder climates, and they say that it will be effectively used here during the ice storm. They said they have enough equipment here to clear the runways, all 5 of Hartsfield's runways, as well as the taxiways, and they expect that it'll work probably 3 times faster than the equipment that they had used in previous ice storms.
I'm Grace King at the Gwinnett County Department of Transportation headquarters, where they've been preparing for this winter weather all day long. If you take a look behind me, you can see the different brine machines as they prepare that brine. Trucks have been coming in and out all day, refilling so they can pre-treat their roads. They started at 7 o'clock this morning, dumping that brine on the roads, covering them in hopes of preventing things from sticking tomorrow when the weather starts to get bad. They're focusing on major roads, overpasses, bridges, anything that tends to freeze first or is a major thoroughfare for the county. They're also preparing their fleet of salt trucks and plows for when that weather comes and when it sticks to the ground. You can see back here they have salt sheds, they have trucks all inside so it's nice and dry for that weather so that they can get out as soon as this is over. Now, the Gwinnett County Transportation Director, he told me they have 23 plows ready to go, so they hope they're able to clear up those roads as soon as they can. But his message to everyone in Gwinnett County is to just stay home if you're able to. That gives them space to work, that gives first responders space to work, and it'll help prevent any possible emergencies. In Gwinnett County, Grace King, 11 Alive News.
All right, Grace, we have this weather impact alert until Monday. The newest information on that, we extended it to Monday because of that hard freeze that we are expecting Sunday night. So anything that has fallen will refreeze. Don't forget, this ice storm warning is in effect from Saturday until Monday morning. So make sure that you are prepared for that. And it's not just us. There are millions of people that are under this ice storm warning. We are expecting this to arrive in Northwest Georgia really Saturday at 3 a.m., but it will be really late afternoon, early evening before we start to see this really take really big impacts here in Metro Atlanta, and it will continue overnight until Sunday. So make sure that you are prepared for that. And here's like that 7-day forecast for you in case you're wondering what's happening after all this goes through. Weather impact alert until Monday. Make sure you are prepared, bundled up. This is not going to be a snow event. This is ice. So make sure that you are prepared for that. If you're going outside, make sure you have something on your shoes. You don't want to slip and fall because it's going to be slippery out there. Make sure you prepare your car and your home as well. Temperatures will be rising just a little bit as we head into next week, but we have to get through this weekend, and we want to make sure that you are prepared as possible. We've been talking about it. Get to where you're going. Snow, I always say snow slows us down, but ice shuts us down. So you need to make sure that you are prepared for food, medications, anything you need. You have until around 4 p.m. tomorrow to get it all done.
And that's the good news here. It's been a work week. We've been talking about this, but maybe you've been too busy. There is a little bit of time tomorrow morning that it will still be safe for you to get out to whatever store you may need to, whether it's the hardware store or the grocery store, get those last minute items and then get yourself situated before these conditions start to move in.
Exactly. And this is a great time to meet your neighbors. Yeah, if you don't have a generator, make sure that you are somewhere that has, heat. You want to make sure that you are in a place. Also, Jennifer, dry ice. A lot of times, if you go to Publix, they sell it, and you can put that in your fridge and in your freezer, and it will keep your groceries cold. So hopefully you don't lose any of that. But Liza Lucas posted a great post on Facebook yesterday of how long you can go without your food being frozen and how long you need to keep that in the freezer or the refrigerator. Yeah, and when you're thinking about that, it's also a good idea not just to think about how long things can go, because you never know. You're hoping that you don't lose the power, but maybe you do. Have the number and the information ready for your utility company so you can report it. Your neighbors may, but it's still a good idea for you to go and report it. We've been reporting all week long about the chain, I guess, so to speak, of who gets power restored first. And of course, they're going to work on those first responders, those emergency officials, and then that's going to trickle down to the wider impacts, the transmissions, and then the neighborhoods, and then the individual houses. So keep that in mind if you can as well. Another good idea, if you know of any senior adults, any senior neighbors in your community, you want to make sure you check in with them now and during the event as well. Exactly. And make sure you have our app on your phone too, because that's very important. In case you lose power, you can keep that phone on and we will be streaming 24/7 to make sure that you all know what's happening. And some folks like me have a satellite and a smart TV. You're watching us now on 11 Alive Plus, but let your neighbors and friends know that we will have continuous coverage streaming here on 11 Alive Plus for you throughout this weather event. And that'll help you get through it. Exactly. Our meteorological team has been on it for you, and they'll keep you updated as we see ourselves through this. Yes. Thanks so much for being with us here on 11 Alive Plus. We'll see you back here tonight at 11. Have a great evening. Everybody stay warm and stay safe.